It's the Odd Drunk Podcast, a very strange podcast, the drunkest show in the world. It's Jackson and Colton talking out of their ass. We don't care as long as drinks are poured. Sometimes we have our friends here. We will talk about anything. We don't care as long as we have beer. And if you let that whiskey ring. The Odd Drunk Podcast.
Just mixed it with a little bit of OJ, made a, guess you would call it dark and stormy, right?
An OJ and rum.
Rum, yeah.
I've heard that called a Cuban screw.
Cuban screw, yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Because-
it would
because
be a
it's
dark
just
and
a-
stormy if it's black spice rum.
Dark and stormy
Pretty
is
sure.
you don't use orange
What is-
juice. What's a dark and stormy?
What does that use?
Because orange juice is just like
I
a
swear my
screwdriver,
life
but
they
with
use
rum.
orange juice. No, that's not. It's a different name. I think a Caribbean screw is correct. If you were to use a white rum. Welcome to Odd Drunk Podcast. We forget what drinks are. At least I do. I just like drinking. So, it's ginger beer and lime. Well, fuck
Uh,
me.
So it's a Moscow Mule, but with rum.
Yeah,
Okay.
I've been lied to. I think Kraken. I blame Kraken. I think they've lied to me.
They seem like
'Cause
liars.
I swear to God, I saw a Kraken recipe. It was like Kraken black spice rum and orange juice. It's a dark and stormy or whatever, or cloudy dark or whatever the fuck they called it. I don't know. You know how every like special drink like drink like that will have its own cocktails and they have their own names.
Yeah.
And I think
yeah.
Kraken did that to me. That light is way too bright.
Hmm.
I'm just gonna deal with it. What else? Yeah, welcome to the Odd Drunk Podcast,
Yeah, welcome.
everybody. We got a fun episode here. And just a bit of an update. So yeah, I've done jack all shit on the Instagram lately. I've been bad about it. However, on this episode and starting here and now, until we forget again or stop caring, I'm gonna, at least on my end, and I want Colton, you send in
Yeah.
your pictures as well. We're gonna start sharing pictures of our drinks again. Okay. I've got a great one.
got some
Yeah.
stuff here to I'm drinking gin tonight. That's my drink of choice. I've got Damn Smooth gin out of Golden, Colorado.
I don't. Okay, good. Sounds good. Not
yeah.
gin's all right.
Yeah, well, yeah, I like gin. But I made a martini.
I know you do.
I mean,
No, gin is actually. I don't think I've had a
Um,
gin that doesn't taste medicinal.
that's kind of the idea. It's like
Yeah,
it
and
does
I think
just
that's kind of why I don't like it.
generally have a medicinal taste to it.
No pun intended. Generally. Man, we're starting off with a bang here.
Yeah. But I made a martini
With just
because I've
pure
been
comedy.
really wanting a martini for like weeks now. So I decided to
What's
make
that?
one.
Okay.
And for when I finish that drink in probably like a minute here, I've got some tonic so I can pour myself some gin and tonics. Because I'm not gonna
Nice. I caught
get up and excuse
some of that.
myself just to make another
I might have to get up and
drink.
excuse myself just to go number one. Took care of number two earlier. No one needs to know that.
Yeah.
We don't need this. All right, starting off with crazy weird energy anyways. Since we're already into what we're drinking, it's basically it is a staple now. It has usurped a different drink in the past years. Not that I don't like the other one, but I got some Bumbu rum here.
Yeah.
which is now one of my go-to rums of choice. It's actually cheaper now at the moment, at least where I got it.
Huh.
Um, at a Wally World, it was 26. It was just over 26. It was dirt cheap
Damn.
for Bumbu rum.
That's really cheap.
Because usually that goes around like 32, 34, depending on where you go. Sometimes around 30. How
Wow.
much you
Yeah.
guys sell for?
I don't know. I didn't see.
But
I wasn't
I've
I wasn't
also
at the shop working. I was at the shop buying
oh,
stuff,
okay, fair
and I just
enough, fair enough.
noticed that in my
Yeah.
absence that they had started stocking bamboo. Uh,
'Cause I think people are catching on. I'm seeing it in
yeah.
more
No,
places.
I remember
Uh,
mentioning it to my managers saying we've had requests for it. Um
Fucking gorgeous. It's delicious. It's
yeah, it's
smooth.
good.
It's a bit vanilla forward, but it's still a rum, and it's um
Yeah.
no,
No,
I mean
it's great.
the only drawback, if you want a more proper, strength for, rum from Bamboo, I would get the reserve.
The reserve
That one
I thought was better.
that one is overall better for a traditional rum, but just their standard,
Yeah, well,
it,
it's for me. It's
it's
also just
delicious, man.
a more traditional style rum is what I.
Yeah.
That's my what my taste buds like, I guess. But for the price, I mean, Bumbu is really solid. Um,
Well, when you mix it with orange juice, it tastes like
mm.
an orange dreamsicle. Uh,
Yeah.
which of course I love that. But it's not like overly sweet or anything. When I say we've talked about Bumbu here before, but just not to misrepresent it. It is not sweet. It has vanilla flavor,
Hmm.
but it's not like fakey. It's not like fakey sweet or vanilla.
No,
It's
it's
it's good.
more on the sweet side, even for a rum.
Yeah,
Like,
it
well,
leans that way. Yeah.
like kind of it leans towards like a liqueur, but
But it's not.
it doesn't quite get there. It still tastes
We've
like
dis
rum,
we've
you know?
discussed this before. There's
Yeah.
some drinks that I've been experimenting with. Like last couple episodes, I had Howlin' Head or Howler Monkey, something. It has a fucking monkey on it, and it
Howler head.
Howler Head.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's banana bourbon. Um, and yeah, it's extremely banana forward on the flavor. Um, that wasn't my nickname in high school, but it doesn't have that syrupiness to it. It doesn't have that liqueur
I love that
texture or over
the
sweetness.
the nickname in high school joke has gotten to the point where you don't say it like a joke anymore.
Well, things. Okay, comedy goes in threes, right? So the first time it's mildly amusing. The second time you're like, oh, haha, they brought it up again. And the third time you capitalize on it, and then that's it. But and then you repeat it a fourth, fifth, sixth, seven, eighth, etc. times, it
And
starts to
on
get
the
annoying.
23rd time, it's
But
finally kind of funny
that's when it
again.
becomes funny again. And I think we're on the precipice of funny again.
Yeah.
That's why I don't say it like a joke, because it's not funny to me
Well,
anymore. But I feel like I
I
have to say it.
I just
I
got a kick out of the tone in
I
your voice
I
as you said it. Like it
I
didn't sound like you were saying a joke. It's just
no.
you were just saying it like as a side comment. It wasn't my nickname in high school.
Yeah, well, yeah, because we're again, like I said, we're to that point where it's not funny again. I'm not gonna
Oh,
say it like
that's
it's a
rich.
joke, like it's funny again. Um, much like this podcast, after a certain amount of episodes, it might get funny again. Um, anyways,
Hmm.
we've got a great episode for you guys. Oh yeah, and I'm
Yeah.
drinking out of a Shrek the Third glass here.
Why do you have a Shrek
Uh,
the Third glass?
we love you, Daddy.
Is that what
It's
it
got the
says?
dronkies on it and donkey. Yeah, yeah. It's got dronkies and donkeys. It's got Puss in Boots on it, of course. It's a donkey and Puss in Boots one edition. It's a
Have you thought
McDonald. It's one of
about
the McDonald's.
Have you thought about that in the
Once.
Shrek universe, donkeys and dragons are the same species?
Explain.
Well, because
Because they can
if
fuck.
because they can fuck and reproduce.
Yeah, that's the key element, actually.
So they are at
Because,
the very least the same, like they are at very least very closely related, like lions and tigers. Maybe the donkey dragon babies are infertile, like a
well, I
liger
think
would
it was
be. But
a deleted scene or something, but in Shrek 2, the film, uh, the dragon was supposed to get the love potion thing also,
hmm
and she was going to turn into a Pegasus, which
ah,
implies that Pegasus and then donkey's a horse, you
right.
know,
So
cross
the
same
dragon,
family
so basically, so the dragon is to a horse or is to a Pegasus what a
as a
donkey is to a
horse,
horse.
a horse. Yeah, I think that's what they imply, but that's a deleted scene. I would love an extended editions of movies like Shrek, like movies
Yeah,
like that. We have the Lord of the Rings extended editions, and yeah, I believe they're the proper way to watch the films, actually.
yeah.
Especially if you have a lot of extra time. But uh, that's kind of a DLC in movies, isn't it?
It is. Yeah.
The extended editions.
Like, I mean,
Uh,
some movies I get why the theatrical cut is the
we're
theatrical cut.
talking about DLCs.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we'll get there. I get
Yeah,
why the theatrical cut
I
is the theatrical. If you watch the extended editions of Lord of the Rings, I love them. It's the proper way to watch them. But watch them and then go watch the theatrical cut, and you'll understand why the theatrical cut, why they cut certain stuff for it.
well, yeah,
It
of course. I
it's
mean, it's
it's
still got to run in the theater, but
well, I'm just saying, I think the theatrical cut is actually a better film.
I would actually kind of well,
Um,
I'm not
like
dissing the
it,
theatrical cuts, but I think the extended editions are still paced well. I think
yeah,
uh just as a Tolkien kind of dweeb, uh I just appreciate them because you get a little extra, it's
yeah.
a little bit
No, I mean,
closer to the books. Yeah,
I
still
always
don't
watch
get
the
Tom
extended cut,
Bombadil.
but
You don't get Tom Bombadil, but I
or
think in
Glorfindel.
another no, you don't get that. But I think another reason I like the
Well, actually,
extended edition.
technically, he does appear as a background character with no
Oh
lines.
yeah, yeah.
In the he is like in like one scene. I think it's in Fellowship at the Council of Elrond.
Well, isn't he also in Return of the King? Um,
Oh yeah, he's
when
supposed to be like at
Frodo goes to Valinor,
no,
or not? No,
no.
maybe not.
He might appear in the background at Aragorn's wedding or something like
That
that.
sounds
But
about
there's
right.
like a
Yeah,
background elf that is supposed to be Glorfindel that's doesn't speak
yeah.
or do anything.
It's
But
not. It's not. Brett
no,
in Twilight Concords. I love how he started just like a one-line role, or not
yeah.
even. I don't even think he had a line in the. Or yeah, he did.
He does. He
And
has a
then he
line
had a
in
slightly bigger part in The Hobbit.
yeah.
Like,
He has
which is
one
pretty
line
good.
in Return of the King.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. He runs up to
When they forge
Liv Tyler. Yeah.
Andrew. Yeah. Um Flame of the West. Anyhow, since we
Get,
haven't done morning oddities in a while,
getting on side tangents.
let's use this time. I got a couple other things I could talk about because I just have to talk about this.
Mm. Mm.
Um we were on Netflix watching Netflix. We watched this movie, Jennifer Lawrence rom-com. Uh this rich kid's parents basically hires Jennifer Lawrence, not necessarily a sex worker, but it's like, hey, can you get our son to grow some balls? Like, take him out to parties. Maybe we'll leave that up to you what you do if it, and you'll get a new car or whatever. I
Oh
didn't watch
yeah,
all of it,
yeah.
but it's pretty good.
I
It's
did see
pretty.
the trailer
It's
for
a
that. Yeah.
the rom com. comedies as just a genre have kind of died. Well, they're still there, but like
They've moved to like straight to
eh,
streaming.
straight to streaming, and you get
Yeah.
a lot of movies now where it's also a comedy, or like Guardians of the Galaxy. Like
Yeah.
it's funny. It's I would consider it a comedy, but it's primarily an action sci-fi movie, but it's funny. Um, you get a lot of that now. You don't just get like, oh, meet the Fockers Five or whatever, It doesn't happen.
Another American
That
Pie or
doesn't no, you don't that doesn't get seats in the I mean butts in the seats. Now, Madam Web, great shit post by Sony there. uh, but not a comedy.
it was just shit
Well,
post.
it wasn't meant to be a comedy. I love how Sony, they tried to get in on like the Morbius meme, but they were too late,
Yeah.
and they
Mhm.
re-released Morbius and still no one showed up.
Yeah.
Anyways, I watched that, and then we saw Netflix recommended. Oh, watch this next. Watch this next. And I saw a trailer, and I got to watch this, and I'll tell you guys about it next episode,
Mhm.
maybe if I can get around to it. But it's a movie about Adam Sandler as an astronaut alone in space, and then he meets a horny spider.
What?
It sounds like something I dreamed about, right? Or made up for this show, but no, it's real. And he meets a spider in space, and the spider's like, "Hey, I see you're lonely, Adam Sandler. I'm gonna pretend to be
Like
your wife or something. I don't
like
know.
a like
I
a
have to see it.
like a regular
It's a
size
spider.
spider.
Well, no, it's a man-sized spider,
Okay, so it's a sci-fi
but
spider.
it's like a photorealistic spider.
Oh,
Not
okay.
like an alien looking one or like a cartoony one. No, it's just like a spider. It's just
Just a
like a
big
jumping
spider.
spider. Like a big jumping spider, the two big eyes and all the little ones. Have you seen those like spider videos on TikTok, the little animated thing?
Yeah, yeah,
Um, it's like that, but it's talking to
yeah.
Adam Sandler with its mind, with its telepathy. And and it's like a dramatic sci-fi role from Adam Sandler. It looks pretty interesting.
I mean,
Like
Adam
first I was like,
Sandler
"Oh, is this like an Interstellar clone?" And then they're like, "Oh, and there's a spider."
Adam Sandler
Which is
can
pretty
be
great.
legitimately a really good actor. He's been in some
Uncut Gems.
he's done some
Yeah.
really excellent stuff. He's very good. But
Then he'll also make a movie with him and his mates in Hawaii,
yeah, which
just
don't get me
fucking
wrong,
around.
I like some of those movies. I like his goof. Little Nicky is a fun one that's just ridiculous, but I like it. But I'm all down for a movie about Adam Sandler just
Grown ups.
um going crazy in space.
And there's a spider.
And there's a spider. Or there's not a
I'm
spider
not
and he's
making
just
this up.
going crazy.
Well, the trailer kind of implies that maybe he is going crazy, that kind of thing. But it's a spider in space with
That's
Adam
fun.
Sandler.
I like that.
Yes,
I'll have to
I
I'll have
love
to
it.
check that out.
Um,
I'll add it to my list of the many things I've been meaning to watch and
yeah.
haven't. I have a coworker who's been insisting I watch this movie called Ravenous. It's like came out in like 99. It has oh Robert Carlyle and Guy Clark, I think.
Okay.
I
Never haven't heard of it.
I had not either, but he really likes it and he wants me to watch it because we generally like very similar movies and he wants someone to justify him liking the movie. That's how he put it.
Right.
He said
Want someone
he
to talk
wants
about it
someone
with.
else to like it
Yeah.
so that he can
All right.
justify why he likes it.
Yeah.
Um I'm meaning to watch the new Avatar. I hear it's good. Avatar Last
I'm
Airbender.
weary. I'm
I I hear it's good. So my sister's been watching it. I mean, on Reddit, everyone's complaining, but I don't listen to Reddit people.
everyone complains on Reddit.
Yeah. Have you seen the Spider-Man PS4 Reddit talking about Spider-Man 2? They're all, if you were to read
Yeah.
that Reddit thread,
Well,
you would think that it's like like Redfall, like worst game of the year type of
Like,
game. Um,
yeah, we'll
so
get
I
around to
generally
that.
don't listen to Reddit,
Have
but
you seen the Batman Arkham Reddit lately?
I haven't. No, I don't think I'm on that
All
one.
the man memes, like I'm man. Yeah, have you seen the Photoshop? He
Yeah,
doesn't have the ears.
yeah, yeah,
It's Michael Keaton. It's typically Michael Keaton's Batman, and he
yeah.
doesn't have his ears. It's just the cowl. Like he kind of looks like a s- Space Phantom or whatever the fuck the guy was from Adult Swim. Space
Oh,
Phantom, not
oh,
Space Phantom.
I know who you're talking about. I don't remember the name.
But just like the cow, right? No
Yeah,
ears, and it's the scene where he's just like, "Yeah, I'm man." And
yeah.
there's even an Arkham Knight mod where you can have that suit, and the
Oh, of
logo
course.
is just like like the classic like bathroom logo of men's restroom.
Yeah,
It's that on his yellow logo.
just man.
Pretty good stuff. Just man, I'm man.
No,
Yeah. There's a
no,
lot of
but
that there.
my sister, she's been watching the new Avatar, and she said, first of all, the Secret Tunnel song is still in it. Um, the cabbage,
That's good. I hope
the
it's not
ca
cringe.
the cabbage merchant is still in it, and it is the same actor,
I heard about that.
which
That's
is
pretty
cool.
cool.
She
Yeah.
said Abed from Community is in one of the episodes. It sounds to me, from not having watched it or actually read any real reviews, but just word of mouth, it sounds like if you've watched like some of the One Piece, like the Netflix's
On the
attempt
same tier.
to
Then
kind of
that's
do
good.
anime stuff,
That's
it sounds like it's a lot like that. Like it seems like they're not shying away from the goofiness that comes with it being from an animated thing,
I don't think you can, and I'm sure the show's
which
fine.
which at the very least
But
is
I
like
really
cool.
I rather just kind of rewatch The Last
That's
Airbender.
that's kind of my thing. It's like so I'm
I
gonna
mean,
I'm gonna watch the live action one, but I would be shocked if it's good enough that I will want to watch the live action one a second time instead of just watching the cartoon again.
right.
Like it doesn't matter
And
how good it is. It would have to be
I guess
groundbreaking, Oscar worthy,
I
crazy good
have
for me to watch it over the animated one because the animated one's
I
a
guess
classic.
I have a bit of PTSD from M. Night Shyamalan's
Yeah.
Avatar movie, Last Airbender movie. Not to be
Uh,
confused with James Cameron's Avatar movie, which is a completely different property. And I remember
also a
people,
terrible adaptation of Avatar: The Last Airbender.
James Cameron's Avatar,
Yeah, terrible
his own
adaptation.
thing.
Didn't get anything right. Not
Yeah, it's
even
nothing like the
not
script.
even any of the same characters, nothing.
Jake Sully.
Yeah, Jake
Yeah.
Sully,
Uh,
he's the
Nothing
Avatar
like
somehow.
Aang wasn't in it. They're blue people. Where's the
There's no bending at
firebenders?
all. Like,
I mean, there's some fire in there. It's a very loose adaptation. It's some weird sci-fi
hell,
adaptation.
the second one was closer because the sequel was closer because it actually had water
Water
stuff going
tribe.
on.
It
Yeah,
had a water tribe.
had a water
They
tribe.
finally get to book one. Imagine, imagine a reality where James Cameron's Avatar is actually a weird roundabout way of doing a Last Airbender adaptation, but it's sci-fi. Like, anyways,
It's I mean what they have like five or six Avatar movies planned, James Cameron
could
has
end up
said.
going that way. I mean,
Like what if it turns out when we get to movie number 6, this is all just a prequel to Avatar: The Last Airbender.
oh, it's one of those like fucking. It's like how yeah, it's like have you heard the theories that Fallout is the prequel to Skyrim? It's like that,
Yeah.
like where you
Yeah.
have this future sci-fi thing, everything goes to shit, and then we roll back to like the Dark Ages or
Yeah.
whatever. that kind
and
of
then
thing.
you know, a million years later,
Yeah.
it's the Elder Scrolls world.
And then it all cycles back on itself because
And that
everything's
entire theory
linear.
is completely based off of in one of the Fallout games, there's a reference to Nirnroot.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the
Well,
entire
because
theory is
Bethesda
based off
makes
of
both games.
that one
Yeah.
reference.
Anyways, let's start talking about games.
We're talking
So
about
we've done a lot of video
games.
game episodes, right? Um, we've done video games of time, which we will continue.
Yeah, we have
We've
one
done other
planned. We're
stuff.
working on it.
We've talked about disappointing games. We talked about horror game. There's plenty of stuff we could jump back into
We've
or
done
continue.
you know,
Uh,
dedicating whole episodes to a single game. We did a whole like remembering like Red
we
Dead
haven't
2.
done that in a while, but yes, we have done that.
We did a
But
Skyrim episode which was terrible because the audio just got really fucked up.
it would have been good
It would have
otherwise,
been
I
good,
think.
but the audio is
Uh,
just god awful in that episode, and don't listen
yep.
to it. Just save yourself.
We'll have to do a remake of that one, a redo.
A redo.
Yeah.
We'll call it Remembering Skyrim, the remake.
Yeah.
We'll do a
The
live we'll do
the official adaptation.
a live action remake just like Netflix is doing with Avatar.
Yeah, we'll do that type of thing. Um, before we jump into it, so yeah, we're gonna talk about something we've never talked about, only in passing, like a few times,
Mhm.
is DLCs. And I want
Yeah.
to be specific here. We're talking about DLCs, not battle passes or expansion
No.
passes or microtransactions or free updates. We will get into that a little bit because a
Get
lot of
into it.
those are
Yeah.
substantial enough where it feels like a DLC, or
The
like it
actual
basically
like
counts as a DLC.
content
Content.
packs, DLCs, expansion
And
packs,
I'm sure
whatever
we'll
you would
rant
call them.
about, yeah, I'm sure we'll rant about battle passes and
And
whatnot.
yeah,
But
but
our focus here,
we'll talk about that stuff. We'll talk a bit about standalone DLCs because that's a whole little world in itself. Um and then
yeah, yeah.
I want to talk a little bit when we get there. We'll save this for towards the end about DLCs that became whole games in development.
Well, and that's where the
Because
wiggle room,
that's a fun thing to talk about because there are some great games that have come out of that and some terrible games that have come out of that. So I think that would be
yeah,
fun to talk about a bit.
definitely. And before we continue, there's one drink I forgot to mention. I've had it here before, but
Mm.
from Santan Brewing at
Ah,
the
yeah.
Juicy Jack.
Damn.
Juicy Hazy IPA. I actually ate there recently. It's by my work actually in Chandler, Arizona.
You talk about
And
them a lot. I'm gonna next if I come down and visit you. Oh, my voice cracked a little bit there. Uh, if I
it
come down,
did.
if I come down and visit you, you're gonna have to take me over to Santan.
Well, we'll have to go there, and we'll have to definitely go to Four Peaks though,
Yeah,
home of Kill Lifter.
yeah,
But
that's the classic.
but yeah, Santan make great stuff. I had some fucking went there out to eat, um, and they actually have a couple different breweries here. Like they're pretty big around here actually. Like they have multiple locations type of
Nice.
thing. Um, which is
And
cool.
we don't get their beer
Um,
up here in Colorado. That's crazy.
no, they're like big local, but I they're still quite local. But
Yeah, like Ska
or at least
Brewing
within.
is only has one location, but you can find them in a lot of places.
Well, I think with Santan, I think their brewery and like their restaurant might be two different things. I
It
can't
could
quite
be that they're
remember.
focusing more
Um,
on their franchise than they are on the distribution.
yeah.
You know.
Either way, though, I just wanted to say I had some fried lobster tacos there.
Mm.
Really good stuff.
It sounds
And
awesome. Shit.
I've actually never had fried lobster before. That was my first time, and
Wow.
it was
That
pretty
sounds
damn good.
amazing.
You know,
Wow.
it wasn't rubber. It was actually nice and
Yeah.
what lobster
The
should be.
the new
So,
job I'm working, I'm gonna keep details low, but and there's two locations in town. And when I was first hired, they had me at the downtown location, which was dangerous because there's a lot of really good food, but
right.
it's all expensive. But now
Yep.
they're having me work on the North Main location, which is on one hand great because I'm less tempted to spend money, but on the other
There's a lot more
hand,
fast food up there,
just
and
like there's a Wendy's, which
in Wendy's, you have Taco Bell. You have
the Taco Bell is further down the road. So I
a
mean,
little bit, but it's still close enough.
if I took my bike, it's close enough. But if I walked, it's not really close enough.
Oh, so you're way up
Um,
north.
I'm on 17th.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
there's a place, Tom's Deli. It's a new spot, relatively new. Um, really good,
I
tasty.
actually saw it.
It
I
was
think,
right before you left town that they opened up, I
yeah,
think.
I remember. Yeah.
Really tasty, but it's like $20 for, which is a lot for lunch.
Right.
So, it's a bummer, yeah. But spending less money though, which is good than downtown.
Yeah.
Downtown, you can spend a lot of money.
Oh yeah, man. I mean, shout out. They have good beers, and you can't buy them anywhere else. But Carver Brewing.
Oh, yeah, I've been
You
going
know,
there more a lot recently. Um, just on weekends, going there to have some
not cheap for
beers.
lunch and for dinner.
Oh no, I don't go there for I haven't been going there for the
Yeah, if
food.
you just go there for a couple beers,
I've been going there for a couple beers, sitting at the back bar there. That's it's a good spot. Real good
Oh yeah,
spot.
good stuff.
Anyway,
Anyways,
let's stop getting distracted. Sorry.
we digress. So yeah, we're talking about DLCs today. I've got a couple lists here. I got it ready here. People's opinions. But before we go to
Mhm.
that, I'm gonna minimize that. I'm just gonna go off the top
Yeah,
of the dome here.
some
I'm just gonna
improvs.
go some of my favorite
Just
DLCs.
let it flow.
Uh, for one, and this it definitely goes into the standalone DLC territory because it is, but it's still technically a
Yeah.
DLC. Um, and it's actually one of my first, not
I
the first, but one of my
I have a
first
guess of
DLCs I've
I think
ever
I know what you're gonna
experienced.
I think I know what you're gonna say.
Okay, on three. One, two, three.
Far
Undead
Cry Blood
Nightmare.
Dragon. Oh, I thought you were gonna say Far Cry Blood Dragon.
Nope. I did Undead Nightmare before that,
Ah,
but that's close.
Undead
Similar
Nightmare.
era. So yeah, Undead Nightmare.
That's a
And
yeah.
man, Rockstar. Come on,
I
Rockstar.
mean,
I know you put all your effort into GTA 6. I know you have to pay off the Florida Joker or whatever he's
yeah. But damn,
demanding.
an Undead
Have you
Nightmare
seen
2 would
that?
have been nice. Oh yeah, I did. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, Undead Nightmare, that was actually my first foot in the door, first experience with Red Dead Redemption at all. Then I played the
Mm,
base game after that.
yeah.
Um, but at the time, it was still at the point where my dad was fine with whatever games I play. My mom wasn't. Um,
That
and I made the argument
it's funny that was the entire reason why I played Red Dead Redemption in the first place was because
because
it
your
was exactly
dad
that.
thought it was cool.
My dad didn't really care.
Yeah.
He generally had a mentality of you can play whatever game you want, but you got to buy it yourself. You got to save up your
Yeah.
allowance and get it yourself. Um, my mom though was very like didn't want me playing Grand Theft Auto and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
anything graphic where you're killing, where
So
you're
I was able to convince
criminal.
my mom and dad to let me play Red Dead Redemption from a friend of mine who had been playing it after it came out and
Right.
said it's like GTA, but you're a cowboy and you're not like Robin. You're not, it's not like GTA where you're like stealing
Yeah,
cars
because at that
and
because
just murdering people, you know.
John Marston was Red Dead 1 way more than Red Dead 2
Hmm.
and that point in the story and everything, and if you play it just like how it should be, um John Marston is just basically, whether he likes to admit it or not, government agent hunting
Yeah.
down outlaws and
So I've been playing Red
just a
Dead
bounty hunter.
on the Switch port of it.
Great port, right?
And I mean, first of all, the game's aged like fine wine. Um,
And then playing it after playing going through Red Dead 2, knowing everything you know, like
yeah.
having context for everything,
And it's also,
it adds a lot more.
here's another thing. When Red Dead 2 came out, I think a lot of people were disappointed in how they handled John's character. And a lot of people jumped, including me, in saying, I like Arthur Morgan better. Playing Red Dead 1 now, after having recently played Red Dead 2 again, I'm not sure I like Arthur more than John. John Marston in
It,
Red Dead
I mean,
1
it's
is a badass. Like,
he's the traditional badass character. I think Arthur Morgan slightly still edges them out a little bit because you get that huge emotional arc with him,
I think Arthur's
and you
more
get that with
likable on the surface.
yeah, and he's
Ar
a bit more.
Arthur,
He's a little. No offense to John Morrison, he's a badass and everything, but he's a little less stereotypical.
yeah.
Like
Ar
John Morrison's like
Arthur,
the
Arthur,
Clint
I
Eastwood
think,
type.
yeah, I think Arthur is more of the he's a he's badass,
Howdy,
but
y'all.
he's a bit of a
He's
teddy
that
bear
kind of
too.
cowboy. Yeah,
Like
exactly.
he's more
Come
likable,
on, boy.
but damn,
Yeah.
John is way more
Yeah.
charismatic in Red Dead 1. And I don't mean to say that as in I don't think they handled his character poorly in Red Dead 2. I actually think the story arc, like the character arc in Red Dead 2 of him becoming who he is in Red Dead 1 is great,
Yeah.
but
And
I
yeah,
love it.
and
I
so
love it.
if you have Red Dead 2 on PC, get the Red Dead 1 John Marston mod
Yeah.
where it makes
Uh,
him look like more like that version of the character because
yeah.
yeah, he is kind of fucked up looking in Red
But
Dead Redemption 2.
yeah,
I don't
but
know why
my
Rockstar did that.
I was able to play
Um,
Red Dead 1 because basically my friend convinced my parents of like it's like a tamer GTA.
right. My friend can yeah, my friend convinced me to get Black Ops. Um, and he didn't have any good reasoning for it. He was just like, get Black Ops.
My dad convinced me to get Black Ops.
Nice.
I remember
Anyways,
this.
going
I
back.
remember this.
Okay.
I
Go
dragged
on.
my dad to Target. I had saved up some money. I was going to buy a video game. I dragged him to Target I wanted to buy Assassin's Creed Brotherhood. And my dad,
And
we were
see,
at
that's not a bad choice
yeah, and I wanted to
at
play it.
all.
I had just played Assassin's Creed 2 and I wanted to play Brotherhood. And I dragged him to Target to buy that, and he saw Black Ops, and it was on sale, and if you bought Black Ops, you got Modern Warfare 2 for free. And he saw that on the
Yeah, that's
shelf
really
and
good.
went, I've heard that this is a very cool game and it's a good deal. You should get this. So I
When
bought Black
Call of Duty
Ops.
was cool.
Yeah. And Black Ops was good. Yeah. I don't
It
regret that.
was. And we'll definitely talk about some Call of Duty DLCs. But anyways, going back to Undead Nightmare,
Yeah.
my excuse was, hey, you're killing zombies. You're not killing people, you're killing zombies. They're zombies now. And
Love killing zombies.
obviously it threw me for a loop for like what the tone of like Red Dead actually was, like
Yeah.
for the actual
Well,
game.
I mean,
Because Undead
that's what's so good about Undead Nightmare though is
yeah.
Red Dead 2 takes itself, or Red Dead 1, I
Yeah,
mean, sorry.
Vincent Price or somebody that sounds like Vincent Price doing the
Yeah.
narration.
Like
You have all the
Red Dead
spooky
Redemption
ooky
takes
music.
itself somewhat seriously. It's like a spaghetti western. And then Undead Nightmare was just the all of the classic horror film tropes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like just off the wall, almost stupid, but in a like a lovable way.
hmm
And
And it's,
yeah.
I'll tell you, it's, I think it was what, 40? No, it was not 40. I think it was only, I think it was only like $20 or
Yeah,
it
I
might have been
remember
more than
I
that,
don't remember, but I remember it being cheap.
um, but it's such a great example of, and not every DLC needs to be this or has to be this, but a DLC that can stand on its own.
Well, this
And
was
so much so where you can get Undead Nightmare, at the time at least, you could get Undead Nightmare on its own as a standalone game
yeah.
because it was enough to justify that,
Well,
enough
I
content.
think
And Rockstar still didn't charge.
some standalone DLCs like seem like they are standalone because when they were developing them, they decided, hey, this could be bigger. We can charge more for it if it's standalone.
Right.
Undead Nightmare felt like it was more like they developed it as a regular ass DLC and then very late in development just went, you know what? This could be standalone.
And it totally
But
works
they
that way.
but they still
And
priced it at a regular DLC price.
yeah. And I'm telling you, it's a ton of fun. Even if you have never played Red Dead and you just want a cool zombie game, get Undead
Yeah.
Nightmare. I mean, you're shooting down zombies in Old West. You know, you get the Gatling gun and stuff. There's all kinds of weird. You find Bigfoot and you shoot big, or you
Yeah.
can decide if you shoot Bigfoot or not, and that gets memed and
Yeah,
whatever.
you can
And you get
I
the four horse.
remember
Um, you
I
can
remember
find the four horses of the apocalypse
right.
as your
Yeah.
steed. You know, and
I remember
uh,
hunting the chupacabra. That was a thing you could do in it.
chupacabra. There's
Um
unicorns. It goes. It's just crazy.
yeah.
And it's awesome. And but also there is a lot of tense, like kind of horror moments, scary moments, especially where you're just like out in Mexico and whatever, and then you know, a horde of zombies come out of the bushes or whatever, you know, stuff like
Yeah.
that.
They
um
they do have some
and then
fun
there's
though
even
too
little
with
spin-off, like there's spin-off content like survival missions
Mhm.
where it's like a survival game, like you're in a graveyard surviving against the hordes of zombies,
Oh
you know,
yeah.
stuff like
Yeah.
that. um
They have some fun
and it
with it
has a
where
fun
like
story.
there's characters in the main game who reappear
You run
and
into like all the characters
and some of these
aside
characters
from,
there's characters like so there's this one character in the main game. He's in like Act 3 of the main game. He's that doctor who's like super racist
yeah,
against
when you get
Native
the
Americans.
Blackwater.
Yeah, and he's super racist, but
Yeah,
because of
sucks.
the story of the game and the tone of the game, even though they make it very clear that John doesn't like this guy, you're not supposed to like this guy, he's a terrible guy, you have to kind of work with him. He gets
Yeah.
eaten by zombies immediately.
Yep.
So it's like
But um
they
like,
treated it also in a way of like we can without repercussions to the story, we can just actually do what we want to do with these characters.
and Landon Ricketts is still in it, and he's like this,
Yeah.
you know, of course it's Landon Ricketts, so he he's doing fine, you know, he's
Coolest character in
coming
Red
off all the
Dead
zombies and everything.
of all time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I honestly, Red Dead 3 should be that. You play as Landon Ricketts, finally.
That'd be badass. I would love that. Yeah.
That would be amazing. And
That's why Landon Ricketts is
that would be great.
one of the there's several reasons, but he's one of the reasons why if you go into like the Red Dead subreddit, people debate on who is technically the better gunslinger, John Marston or Arthur Morgan in their prime. And the general consensus is that it's John Marston. And it's because of after he learns from Landon Ricketts.
I think Arthur Morgan uh is the better just overall enforcer
Yeah.
and you know, brawler and
Oh yeah, yeah.
fighter.
Like
But
being the
sharpshooting wise and
like
gunslinging
as
wise,
far
yeah, it
as
would go to
yeah, as far as like being the guy to get shit done, of course it's Arthur Morgan, but like as far as a gunslinger,
But then again, by the
bro.
time Arthur Morgan's definitely the better shooter than John Marston and Red Dead 2 in
Yeah,
that
no,
point in the
well, the
timeline.
the idea is that after John
Yeah,
learns from Landon
yeah,
Ricketts, he
yeah.
is then in his prime, he is the better gunslinger. Yeah.
But anyways, going back to Undead Nightmare, yeah, you have all the crazy missions. I mean, it feels like playing Fallout on Wild Wasteland mode, but even
Hmm.
crazier.
Yeah, yeah, even
And
crazier.
and um and in the epilogue, instead of playing as spoiler alert for a 15-year-old gamer, not 15-year-old, feels that old. 10-year-old,
14.
14-year-old game.
This year
Wow.
it'll be I don't
Spoilers.
know when this year, but that game came out in
Instead of playing as
2010. So,
Jack Morrison, you play as zombified John Morrison,
yeah, which
risen
is
from the dead,
fun. That's a
which
lot.
is pretty good.
No, no,
Speaking of which,
I don't want to hate on Jack Marston too much, but zombified John Marston's
well,
cooler.
another little side tangent here, and then we'll move on to other stuff. Uh, because we gotta stop talking about Red Dead Redemption. We've done a whole episode on Red Dead 2 for crying out loud.
It's okay. I expected we would go on tangents on this episode.
And I'm sure we're gonna talk about it a
Yeah.
lot again. But there's people, and yeah, most people call them out, and they're like, "That wouldn't be a Western. That'd be stupid. That would be a different game." And there are people like, "Oh, I would love the Red Dead 3 where you play as Jack Marston, but it's like World War One, or you're working with the mafia or whatever." It's like, okay, but that wouldn't be a Western.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong.
I
That'd be
guess
a
you could
cool
make it a
game.
spin-off.
Like
It could
that
still like be in the timeline, but it
that
wouldn't
would
be Red
be
Dead Redemption.
yeah, don't get me wrong, that would be cool. But
But it's not a Western anymore.
I want I
1
want
is
cowboy shit.
barely
Like
Red Dead Redemption 1 is barely a Western. And the only reason
yeah.
it's a Western is because you're playing as an ex-outlaw killing
Mhm.
other outlaws.
Yeah.
That's the only
It's
reason it can
it's
justify that.
it's like let's be
1911?
honest.
Come on.
The story in those games are great. The characters are great. But the reason I play those games is because I like cowboy shit
And they're barely even Westerns. Like
and
even Red
I
Dead
want to
2.
do cowboy shit.
Red
Like
Dead 2 is at the end of the Old West.
yeah.
Uh, that's why I think Red Dead 3 should be set a little bit further back in time where you're like dead set in the Wild West.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
I
But
think it needs I agree it needs to be set earlier and it needs to I think they need to be done with the Vanderland gang.
yeah,
I don't
that story's
see
been told.
I don't really I see some people say they
I
should
mean, you
do
can make references to it.
a
You
young
could,
Hosea and Dutch, which could be cool, but
and that could be cool.
I like your idea. Landon Rick you play as Landon Ricketts.
And maybe you run into those characters. Like it could be a cool cameo or something.
Yeah.
But it's not focused on that.
But
Because
yeah,
Landon Ricketts was at Blackwater during the whole massacre and everything. We still haven't seen that.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so,
I
that could end up
I
happening.
I think that would be cool. The only case I would make for a game that doesn't take place earlier than Red Dead 2 would be I've seen some people say
What, in between?
after the epilogue of Red Dead 2, it said that Sadie Adler goes down to like South America.
That want to be a
It
Western.
wouldn't be a Western, but damn, it would be cool.
It'd be a cool DLC if
Like
Rockstar decided to do those
like
again.
I
And
mean
what's funny, because
that this is the DLC that I want. Sadie Adler in Mexico. It's the map from Mexico map from Red Dead 1. And it's Sadie
that's one of the
Adler
biggest
bounty hunting
bummers.
in Mexico. That would be awesome.
Red Dead 2's map
Killer.
is just as big, if not bigger, than the original map, right?
It's bigger. Yeah.
But the exclusion of Mexico, because after going back to Mexico and Red Dead 1, I'm like, oh my God, on modern graphics and modern engine, that would be freaking amazing, man.
there is a mod
Uh,
that it's a work in progress, but there's a beta version you can download. I've not tried it or anything. Which is aiming to fully because in Red Dead 2 a lot of Mexico was completed by Rockstar, but
Yeah, the
they cut
landscapes
it. It was supposed to be in there, but it was cut content. They ran out of time, basically. Um, and there's a mod that some people are working on to basically flesh out the Mexico part of the map
yeah,
and fully implemented it, which sounds awesome because that's like
right.
my favorite part of the map in Red Dead 1.
I mean, that could be a $40 DLC I'd buy right away. If
Yeah.
Rockstar just all of a sudden announced, hey, in the meantime, before GTA 6, we have a Red Dead 2 DLC where you go to Mexico.
Be like shit.
That's all they could say. That's all they would have to say.
I'd be
I'll
like
give you my money, Rockstar.
I'd be like I don't care if you're ripping me off right now. I want that.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like that.
It could literally just be the map.
Just the map. There's the
Right.
map. Maybe some bounties you could do. I don't know. But
Yeah. Yeah.
just the map.
It could be a very lazy thing, and I would still
Yeah.
go
I think a
for it
lot of people would
because I
play
just
that.
have to see that.
Yeah. Anyway,
Anyways, moving on
let's
from Red
move
Dead.
on.
Another big DLC, you mentioned it earlier. It's also what I would consider standalone because you can buy it as its own game. Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon.
Yeah.
And funnily enough, I actually played that before I played Far Cry 3 or any Far Cries because at the point it's like, oh, this just looks fucking cool, right?
Yeah.
It's like a campy 80s spoof game. You play like as a Terminator type guy. It's set in Canada in 1999 or whatever, 2007.
Yeah.
And it's set in the, far distant future, 2007. And you're fighting robot dinosaurs and, Cobra-esque enemies and
Yeah. I love it.
everything's neon and black light and and
It's awesome.
lasers.
It's just so
It's
good.
great.
Which is saying
I,
a lot for
I,
me too, because I generally don't like Far Cry.
right. But
That's
if they
that
did like a Blood Dragon
but
again,
shit, Blood Dragon was cool.
that could have easily spun off into its own series, into its own game.
Yeah, they could have. It's a lot
Honestly,
of restraint by them to not do that.
but I remember, I mean, yeah, that was my first time ever playing like the Far Cry formula, and I was like, wow, this is awesome. And the main reason I thought it was awesome was because the setting. Like, I mean, like I said, all the jokes, the spoofs,
I
the
love
campy 80s
that
vibes,
80s B
everything's
movie action
neon.
movie stuff.
Yeah,
Like I love it.
literally, you're on a black light island.
Yeah,
And you're fighting laser dragons. Well, blood dragons, shall I say.
yeah.
Um, and it's over the top, it's crazy, and it's a lot of fun. And it's not just a reskin. They implemented some new combat mechanics and skills, and it was a hell of a DLC and definitely a standalone. Another one I want to mention
Hmm.
off the bat, and then I'll throw it off to you after this one.
Yeah.
I'm gonna mention this one just now, just so I don't forget it. It's not a standalone DLC. However, it could be, but it's integrated into the game. And this is one of my favorite types of DLCs, or actually my favorite type of DLC,
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
it's large enough where it can be considered a standalone DLC. It's its own map, it's its own story, it has its own campaign, its own lore, and whatever,
Hmm. Yeah.
but it's integrated into the main game. You could play
I
it
love that. Yeah.
not necessarily at any point within the main game, but when you get in a certain point in the main story, you can spin off and go into the DLC.
Yeah.
Or
Love it.
sometimes you have to beat the whole story and then you go in DLC, but either way, it's integrated in a way where it never feels like you're loading into something different. You're just continuing the game. And there's two, but I think the one I actually beat 100%, uh, Dark Souls 3 to Ring City.
Yeah.
From Software,
I know I've
historically
never played any
a
of their DLCs,
fucking
but I know that From Software has a
pillar
good
with
reputation.
their DLCs.
Yeah.
They give you a whole new map. They give you all new enemies, new mechanics, new weapons, new armor sets, new bosses, new lore, tons of new lore. And typically, actually, always, it's for like the hardcore, not just standard Dark Souls players, for the hardcore Dark Souls players, the types of players that count the frames in between dodge rolls, the types of players that fucking min-max their stacks and calculate their stacks and watch all the Vadi video videos. It's for those guys. It's fan service, right? For
Yeah.
Dark Souls
Yeah.
or for
They're
Souls
like
players.
if you've
And
gotten through the game enough times that you're bored and need more, then you
yeah.
probably
Well, I remember by
need
the
this.
time the Ring City DLC came out, I already knew Game Plus like 3 times.
Hmm.
And then the Ring City DLC came out and it fucking humbled me. Like even how much I played it. Yeah, there was a few, early on I was like, oh, okay, this is cool. I love the art design here. It's cool. The first couple bosses weren't too crazy, the demon princes and everything. But then the hardest boss, in my opinion, in Dark Souls history is in the Ring City. And there's two. One is like an endurance boss. It's not necessarily hard mechanics wise or gameplay wise, but it has such a fucking massive HP, and you have to be fucking perfect because it can one shot you type of thing. It's not hard to dodge its attacks, but if you don't, you're fucked. It's
Hmm.
that kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
So you have Dark Eater Midear, this big ancient dragon that was supposed to guard the end of time and the beginning of time. The lore's fucked up, time's convoluted. It's a whole thing. But Dark Eater Midir, which that boss probably took me like 50 tries.
Yeah.
Fucking drove me crazy. In fact, I got to the point where I was listening to Car Wash, that song, while I was doing the
Hmm.
boss battle. Because I was doing it so many times, I was like, yeah, let's just play. Me and my buddy Skylar, because uh, you remember Skylar.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
He moved his fucking TV and system into my dorm room, even though he was on a different suite, just so we could play Dark Souls and Bloodborne together all day on our
I remember
weekends.
that. Yeah. Yeah.
We had extremely long sessions, and sometimes we'd be playing the same game and doing, co-op, and sometimes we would just be eating popcorn and watching another guy die to the same boss all day, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, Dark
Best
Eater
way to
Midir,
play.
which drove me fucking crazy because of massive help hole. But now I go back to it, I'm like, I know the fucking boss, I know the strats, I know it's easy, right? I mean, it still takes a long time unless you have a crazy overpowered build.
Yeah.
Um, you know, but the one that I beat where I could finally say I'm like a true Souls guy. I'm like elite, right? Well, I wouldn't say I'm elite overall, but it made me feel this way at least. Slave Knight Gale.
Mm.
That's
Hmm.
holy shit, dude. There was another one before that in the other DLC because they did another one. It wasn't Ring City. It was a smaller DLC. It was still pretty good size. I forget what it was called. It was like the Ashes of Arendelle or something like that. But there was one where with a boss that was pretty hard, but I got through it relatively quickly. But Slave Knight Gale, over and over and over, over and over, his moveset kept changing. He had like 5 different stages to his boss fight, and they kept getting, more fucky and more crazy and more one-shot moves but it took me forever, but it got to the point on my final attempt, I didn't get hit once. I knew all his fucking
Damn.
moves. I dodged every fucking thing perfectly. I had muscle memory down and I fucking murdered. I might have been hit once, but It seemed like I didn't get hit once, but either way, I had it fucking down and took him down, and that's why.
Oh, damn,
And
I felt
I've told
that
you the
felt good.
story.
Yeah.
Yeah, I told you the story. People on this podcast listening to this probably heard the story in other episodes, but like when I first got the original Dark Souls, played it, I was like, "Ooh, another fantasy game like Skyrim," and
Yeah.
I was extremely humbled. And I put it down, and it collected dust for a few years. And then I got Bloodborne because I was like, "Okay, let's give this a shot. This looks rad. Let's give it a shot." And Bloodborne was the first one I officially beat.
Yeah.
Um, and then after Bloodborne, I went back to Dark Souls, and then I went back to all of them, and Dark Souls 3 came out. And I remember I was like, yeah, I did not like Dark Souls. I was no good at it. But then it finally clicked with me, and like the whole meme of like get good is real. It's real.
Yeah.
It just finally clicks with
It
you.
just
No
it
matter
just
what build you're doing, even if you're
I'm
doing a cheese build, mage thing,
I am not with Souls games to the point where
gotten good,
I've not gotten good.
or where it clicks with you.
But the it started to click with me. The entire concept
Yeah.
of and honestly, it's not from playing Souls games that made it click with me. It's
From
from
watching other
playing
people play it.
no, it's from playing I in the past couple of years I've gone back and started playing some really old games. So playing the original Legend of Zelda, playing Super Ghouls and
I mean,
Ghosts,
Souls
stuff
is kind
like
of just like Zelda for adults.
playing stuff like that. Um, and then some newer stuff, playing Project
Well,
Zomboid,
that's what
games
Miyazaki was
like that,
going
where
for.
it's the idea is that you learn from failure. That
Yeah,
that that is the game. The game
big
isn't
part of it.
progressing, the game is getting good.
And then obviously with like
Like
Elden Ring, that you have so many
yeah,
other things you can do in the
Elden Ring is another one
exploration
that helped quite a bit.
where
I haven't beaten
you have
Elden Ring.
exploration,
I want to get it on I'm gonna get it on the Steam
magic
Deck,
is
I think.
busted.
Um
The magic builds are so busted in Elden Ring. Uh, you know. But
but
uh but yeah, going back to Dark Souls 3, which I don't know. I mean, it's hard to beat the original, but Dark Souls 3 is really damn good. I've gone back to it. But
yeah.
yeah, but the Ring City DLC, when they got the Slave Nightingale, it got to the point, yeah, sure, now I would fuck up, but after a few more tries, my muscle memory would kick back in and I would beat the shit out of him because fought him 70 times, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh
You're-
um and then now we've got the Elden Ring DLC coming out this summer. Um,
yeah.
and with the massive scale of Elden Ring, if you're a player that's more into exploration and open world shit, I think this DLC is still gonna,
I
make you happy.
definitely want to get back into Elden
Um,
Ring. I was playing it on the Xbox. I sold my Xbox, so I don't have that anymore.
Steam Deck it.
But I've heard it's great on the Steam Deck, and
Yeah,
part of
I'm
me is
definitely
tempted
getting
to
on Steam
just
Deck.
buy it, but part of me is like, I've bought it once. I should wait till it goes on sale. So we'll see.
Right.
We will see.
Or maybe wait till the DLC. I
Yeah.
would get ahead of it though and get good before the DLC because,
That's my
like I said,
temptation to just buy it outright is like
FromSoft
get some practice in.
FromSoft is historical, and like I said, their DLCs are a
Yeah.
massive DLs. I mean, a difficulty spike.
Ooh, the Dodgers beat
With
the Guardians.
oh, nice,
Yeah, there we go. Sorry, my phone
nice,
went
good for
off.
you. Uh,
Hey,
but
this is
yeah,
new. This is in
uh,
your neighborhood that's happening.
yeah, that's true. But yeah, Miyazaki. I mean, they always nail it with their DLCs, and yeah, they have big deal difficulty spikes. And man, Bloodborne's DLC to Old Hunters. Oh my God.
Yeah.
That one drives me crazy. Fighting Ludwig the Curse, and God, he's horrible. You know what he looks like, right? The horrible horseman. And you
Yeah.
get the Moonlight Greatsword because the Moonlight Greatsword's in all their games. You even get it in Arbor Core. You can equip your mech with it, which is pretty fun.
That's awesome. That's fun.
uh, but the Bloodborne DLC is even a steeper difficulty climb than any of the other ones. I think the Dark Souls one, the Artorias, or what was it actually called? But the Dark Souls one DLC was definitely a steep difficulty climb, but not nearly. I don't think any of them are as steep as Dark Souls 3 or Bloodborne.
Hmm.
Um, but they add so much to it, so many more layers and weapons. And like with with the Elden Ring DLC trailer, Shadow Vertree, they show like, rapid fire
Uh,
crossbows, and they crossbows, and they show like you can do unarmed like monk attacks now, like
yeah.
martial arts stuff. You can,
Oh, sick.
and that looks sick, and all kinds of new enemy types, and also you get excited. Oh, what fucked up boss am I gonna fight now? Like that's the whole thing. And
Yeah.
I love when From Software gets really creative with the fucked up bosses you fight. You know,
Yeah.
I love it when they go wild with it. So yeah, their DLCs have always been massive hits for me, and they could release them as standalone games they wanted, but it wouldn't work that way. They have to be integrated with the game because you have to get to that point where you're 100 level plus character, new game plus character to even attempt it.
Yeah.
I mean, it levels with you, it scales with you, so you could be a lower level, but realistically, you need to be a veteran player
Yeah.
to get into the deal. So I guess that would be the only caveat. You have to be a veteran Souls player to have a good time with the DLCs. If not, you're just gonna. If you think the base game is hard, and yeah, there's some bosses in the base game that are arguably harder than some bosses in the DLCs. But like when you get to Old Pastor Lawrence or whatever his name, he's like the flaming cleric beast variant. That boss is just dumb hard, dude. Crazy HP, one shot kills, crazy combo, like dumb, just dumb. But but we love it. We love punishment. We're gluttons for punishment, Souls
Yeah,
fans.
you sadists. Yeah.
And then also lore.
Yeah.
Hey, this pair of boots tells me that this guy fucked up a dragon one time, and now the world's fucked up because of that. Oh, this guy drank weird blood, and now his baby's fucked up some other guy. I don't know.
Yeah,
Somebody
the
did the
souls.
wrong. Somebody did the wrong. Did some guy's taxes wrong. It's Souls lore. That's Souls lore.
Yeah. TurboTax tricked you into paying $25.
Yeah, and then Lord Gwyn burned himself on the
Yeah.
fire because
Yeah,
of it, and
that's
then
yeah.
and then
It's
and
exactly
then the
how Dark Souls
dragons
lore.
and then the dragon said, "Get fucked," and then lore happens, and then more lore
Yeah.
happens.
And
We have a Dark Souls lore episode. It's
that's
our most
why
popular episode.
we have offside rules in soccer. That's how Dark Souls lore works.
Yeah, because some guy fucked with the dragons and
Yeah.
made a god, and here's a rusty sword, go kill God. That's Dark
Yeah,
Souls
pretty
for you.
much. Yeah.
But if you want to know more, listen to our Dark Souls lore episode.
You should. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
We should do a sequel to that episode sometime.
Yeah, because that's our most popular
If we
thing.
have the energy to do it.
Yeah, if I do.
If you
I can do it. I would totally do it.
specifically if you have the energy to do it.
Watch a lot of Vadi video. Subscribe to Vadi video,
Yeah.
if you want
Yeah.
all that. Yeah. He's great. He's great. He's wholesome.
Yeah,
I fall
Vadi
asleep to
video is
Vadi.
good. Yeah.
I fall asleep to Vadi video telling me how some guy fucked a dragon and now the land's accursed and whatever. And it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Elden Ring lore's fucked too, man. That's a whole can of
We'll
worms
get
there.
into that
Anyway,
sometime
anyways,
eventually.
now I digress to you. What are some of your favorite DLCs and experiences? I'm gonna let you talk a
Okay.
while I
Yeah,
talk.
let's see. I think well I'm gonna talk about this first because my I have two main kind of things to go into. And the second one I think you'll have some stuff to say. So I'll start with the first one. Um
Don't
favorite
get me
DLC,
going quite yet.
just my favorite DLC of all time. DLCs plural. The Witcher 3 Blood and Wine and Hearts of Stone.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That's a given. If
Yeah.
we're
I mean that could also be a whole game.
those are DLCs that if you look up best DLCs ever, they're always on the top 10 list. Simply out of because CD Projekt Red, I mean, they were $20 a piece, and these were, I mean, Blood and Wine was it's a 20-hour long full
It's an
story
experience.
expansion with a whole new map, and it's not just a half-assed story, it's a detailed, like emotional story. It's just like you really like you get your money's worth for that, more than your money's worth.
Yeah.
Um Definitely Blood and Wine is my favorite, which I'll talk a little bit more about. But Hearts of Stone is also really good. I don't like it quite as much, but with one exception is the villain. Um Gonter Dim is the character's name. He's like this godlike character. He's like a you have to make a deal with, like he makes deals with people. So it's like basically the way you defeat him in the end is you find a loophole in his like wording, how he worded his
That's
deal,
awesome.
which is crazy. But I think the coolest thing about that is he is one of the first characters you meet in the base game of The Witcher 3.
Really?
So I mean, you've played The Witcher 3.
A
At least
bit. Yeah, I mean
some of
not
it.
enough to
So in White Orchard in the beginning, the tutorial area,
Mhm.
first mission, you ride into town, you arrive at the tavern, you have to ask all these tavern goers about if they've seen Yennefer around. And there's that
Yeah.
one guy, the bald guy, who's the mirror merchant who knows who you are. Do you remember that guy?
Yeah.
That's the villain in Hearts of Stone. He's
Really?
like a
That's crazy.
godlike character. So the I just
Is
think
he
like
like a Shimo Gorath type guy?
yeah, Shea Gorath. Yeah, he's like that, like
Gorath,
Shea
yeah.
Gorath mixed with like kind of a Loki type thing. Like he's not exactly evil, but he's like a trickster type of character. So the whole Hearts of Stone is basically like Geralt is hired to kind of like help someone else out who has gotten involved with this character. Um, but Blood and Wine though is like I mean, I would say it leans way more into the fairy tale tropes in it.
That's some of my favorite stuff with
that's a
the
huge
Witcher.
theme in Blood and Wine is fairy tale tropes. I mean, there's like straight up a quest in it where you go into an alternate dimension where it's you basically have to like kill the big bad wolf and like save Little Red Riding Hood.
That's awesome.
Um, there's a part in it where Roach, your horse, talks to you, can suddenly start talking and talks to you. Um, it's
My
just like
cat's
it.
sniffing my rum.
Oh, nice. Are you gonna give her some?
She certainly wants some.
Um, but on top of that, I mean the just the fact that it gives you a full like fleshed out storyline. There's characters from the books that show up in it. That is really cool to see. The villain is really cool. I mean, it deals with the main theme of it is vampires. So
Yeah. It's a
Um,
vampire DLC.
and in The Witcher, there's all different types of vampires, but there's one kind called higher vampires, which are just immensely powerful. And the
Yeah.
main villain is a higher vampire, but then you're also working with a higher vampire, and there's like a whole code of honor where like they're not allowed to hurt each other, but the only people who can really properly kill a higher vampire is another higher vampire. So
Mhm.
it's like there's a whole it intertwines this moral dilemma in there.
I
It's
don't mean
great.
to
It's
interrupt you,
great. Yeah.
but I'm glad this reminded me. But like speaking of vampires, like the
Yeah.
Skyrim DLCs.
I so I mean I'm about done with The Witcher 3. I mean I think I'm pretty much done with The Witcher 3. I just wanted to talk
Yeah.
about it real briefly. But that was the next thing I want to talk about was Skyrim. So
So
that worked out.
you have Dawnbreak or
Guard,
no,
Dawnguard,
what is it called?
Dawnguard.
Dawnguard.
Yeah.
You have the Dawnguard DLC, which is the vampire hunting DLC. That's why it reminded me. And you can become a vampire lord and all this crazy
Hmm.
cool stuff. It expands on the vampire stuff, and I think it is the better out of
It
the
is.
Skyrim DLCs.
Yeah, I agree.
Dragonborn has a lot of cool powers and Lovecraftian shit, but it's
Dragonborn.
I think, and you get Solstheim, you get a new map with that,
Well,
so that
Dragonborn
is
had a lot of fan
important.
service
Answer, yeah,
for Morrowind players.
yeah, yeah.
Which when I first played it, I had never played Morrowind, so that did not click with me.
But I
Now it does
think
a little bit more, but
Dawnguard. I think what I liked about it, it didn't feel like it just felt like a cool expansion, not like a kind of continuation. Like
yeah.
Dragonborn is like a continuation of the Skyrim main DLC story. I mean the main story.
Yeah,
Uh
Oblivion had a similar
kind of sort
thing
of.
with its
Yeah.
DLCs where it had the Shivering Isles, which was it's theorized is the canonical ending to that character, the
Yeah.
hero Kvatch. So the canonical sort of theory, well, canonical as in like it's we think it's this is mostly what's implied is that at the end of Shivering Isles, the character in Oblivion, the hero of Kvatch, mantles Sheogorath and becomes
Yeah.
She. So when you play the quest in Skyrim where you meet Sheogorath, that is technically the player character from Oblivion,
Hmm.
which is weird. And that's kind of a similar
Yeah.
thing in the Dragonborn DLC is like that's kind of the canonical ending to that character.
Yeah, of the Dragonborn of the game.
Yeah.
You fight the first Dragonborn and you're the last Dragonborn, and it's big and it's epic, and you get the ride dragons, but it's not quite as you would expect. It's kind of a fast travel mechanic, and
Yeah.
you can fight some enemies, but with mods and stuff, there's a lot more you can do with that, of course. But we're not talking about mods.
I mean,
I will
as
say
much as
there's
I
um
yeah.
there's kind of a side category with mods where a mod is so substantial that it is like a DLC, but it's
Hmm.
free. You know. We can talk about that a
We'll
bit.
get there a bit. Yeah, I have a couple things. I have something to
But I
mention
think
with that.
the Skyrim DLC's really good stuff there. And yeah, Dawn Guard, I just thought it was cool.
I think Dawnguard's my
You can
favorite.
join the Dawn Guard and hunt vampires, and
I mean, in
you meet
some
Celine
ways,
or whatever her name is.
even though
And it does have a bit of
Dragonborn,
a new map. You go into the Soul
yeah.
Cairn.
Well, even though Dragonborn had Solstheim, which was cool and had
Yeah,
some
because it's a bit
really
of a Morrowind throwback.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it had some deep lore stuff going on. The vampire's castle and the Dawnguard fort and the Soul Cairn and all of that stuff felt more exciting.
Well, yeah, and it throws this stuff into the world that you never really seen before in Skyrim. It gives you
Yeah.
some different kind of aesthetics and themes, all the vampire stuff and
And for
the
a
vampire
while
abilities
for a while it
and
completely broke the game too because so they
yeah.
implemented random vampire attacks in towns.
Oh yeah,
And
and
the
I could
vampires would kill
quest line
semi-essential
characters.
characters.
Yeah,
They have since um patched it. They don't do that anymore.
yeah.
But
But with those deals, both of the DLCs, I mean, for people in like Hearthfire, for people that couldn't mod that didn't have
mhm.
PCs, that's the best we could do. We was the
Yeah.
DLCs, and
And
then
and and
Bethesda gives
Hearth
us Creation Club.
yeah, and Hearthfire
You know,
too.
um,
Honestly, that's a great mod or a DLC.
but yeah, and mods have
Just
expanded, so much on it.
I'm a sucker for any time a game just gives you like a player home you can customize and just do all that sort of stuff with.
Right.
And Hearthfire was pretty good. Um,
Yeah.
it was like, I mean, in Fallout 4, which I'll talk a little bit about those DLCs too, because one thing Bethesda has a mixed history, but generally in the positive with DLCs.
The horse
Um,
armor.
well, yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, the horse armor deal, Bethesda coined the term DLC pretty much
Yeah.
with the horse armor.
And that was one of the first ones.
Before that,
The
it was
horse armor.
expansion passes, packs,
Yeah.
and things like that. But Bethesda put out horse armor. Um, but uh, but like in Fallout 4, the whole settlement system, which can be frustrating with how they set it up, but with some mods to remove some of the frustration, is for me was really addicting. And that's what Hearthfire was was like just a predecessor to that,
Yeah.
you know, um, which was great.
Yeah, pretty much.
Fallout 4's
Um,
DLCs. Have you played any of Fallout 4's DLCs?
I have. So I have the complete edition of Fallout 4. I played a bit of Far Harbor. I played a bit of Nuka Cola
Nuka World, right?
and
Yeah,
Nuka World, yeah, and I messed
yeah,
around a lot with the Robotron, the
right.
Automatron thing with
I mean,
mods and
Fallout
stuff,
4 had
making
a
my
lot
robot
more of
army.
they had the Robo yeah, I don't remember what it's called. That DLC, they had the Vault Tech DLC, they had um
Yeah, they had a lot of
some
little
workshop
little
ones,
ones.
which were all cool. More stuff to sandbox stuff to mess around with. Nuka World, I think, is fine. But I would say Far Harbor is the standout one. Far Harbor
Yeah,
is it gives you a new area to explore that's actually interesting. Narrative wise,
right.
I think it's better than the base game. Like the story in Far Harbor is so much more interesting. My tip for if you are going to play Far Harbor again sometime is bring Nick Valentine with you, the companion.
Oh yeah,
You have to because he has actual story stuff going on in that DLC, but they don't
that's cool.
tell you that you have to bring him. You can bring whoever you like, so you can just miss out on all that stuff if you don't bring him with you.
Right.
Which I respect that you can miss out on that they give you the option to miss out on the stuff. But
Yeah.
Far Harbor was really good. I mean, say what you will about Fallout 4 and about the state of Bethesda recently, their track record for DLC has been pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to see what they do with Starfield, with DLC.
Hmm.
Um, maybe add something interesting to it. No, just yeah. I think that one of the biggest turns. I don't want to go on a Starfield rant again, and I know you have the game, and I don't want to diss
Uh,
on the game that you bought and that you have. and I'm sure it's a lot of fun once you get into it and whatever. Um, and this is really well, it's pretty nitpicky here, but because it's a story element, it's a actually it's not even it's a setting element.
Uh-huh.
Um, I think it's not sci-fi enough. I get that they're going for the NASA
Mm-hmm.
punk thing, but when I expect to play as open world sci-fi RPG game, I expect multiple alien
Yeah,
races,
I get
like
you.
Mass Effect, something like that. But
Mm-hmm.
Starfield is just people and then you fight bugs or whatever.
Yeah, pretty
And
much.
maybe I'm incorrect, but
No, no, that's
uh,
mostly right. I mean, well, it does in the story get into some more heavy sci-fi stuff. There's
that's
like
cool. That's cool.
there's some like mysterious ancient um
Yeah.
like temples that you start discovering, and as you start discovering you start getting attacked by these like hyper futuristic like soldiers,
Yeah.
and because
Yeah, I think
they're
if a
protect
DLC
so it
expanded
it
on
does
something,
it does go into that.
if a DLC expanded on something like that, added
Yeah,
some alien races, added some more ship stuff.
I would
Um,
say with
I
Starfield,
still plan on getting Starfield. I think I'm just waiting it out for modders to really
I would say the thing with
go
Starfield, so
crazy with
I
it.
think there's tons of there's a lot of really good interesting stuff in Starfield, narratively and setting wise. The problem is
Yeah.
there's a lot of junk and sometimes lack of junk in between all of that stuff.
Not enough junk.
And
Um,
and whether or not you will like Starfield, I think just depends on how much your patience for that will be.
how much I'm willing to buy into it.
Basically, yeah, basically. So
Yeah.
I really I know some people are really harsh on Starfield, and I think some people are really overly kind to it as well. I think it's somewhere in between. It just really depends on your patience for the type of stuff that it throws at you, you
Yeah.
know. So some people I think would love it. Some people I think would just think it's the worst. Um, I'm in between. I like it.
Right.
I don't think it's great, but I do like it.
Yeah.
Anyway, where were we?
Um, Another one I want to talk about. I don't know if
Yeah.
you've played it. I haven't, but Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty, which I heard
I've not played it yet.
is not only just an amazing DLC, but like basically it makes Cyberpunk into the game that was promised, and it's redeemed. Cyberpunk's redeemed now. I got
Yeah.
it. I that will probably be another one that I play once I get the Steam Deck.
I have it. It
You
runs
know,
surprisingly well on the Steam Deck. Not
yeah.
perfectly, but better than it did on the Xbox One.
Well, that's not saying a lot, but yeah, great.
But still. Um
That's good. That's good.
uh and I keep meaning to actually do a full playthrough of it again. And
You booted in the Phantom Liberty yet?
I don't have
Idris Elba?
I don't have Phantom. I haven't bought Phantom Liberty yet, but I keep meaning to get
Ah,
back into Cyberpunk after all these updates, and I keep getting distracted by other games.
yeah, fair enough. Um, what's another one? We mentioned it earlier, but Call of Duty, yeah, how it has
Yeah.
fallen. They release Modern Warfare 3 remake or whatever they want to call it, redo, um, as a glorified DLC, charge for the full price of a game. And even then, it wouldn't be a good DLC because you only get about 10 hours of content. Or no, not 10 hours, 5 hours of campaign content.
Oh my God.
Um, and so
It's
like if that was a
insane.
DLC, I would expect to spend like $10 on that. Um, but Call of Duty used to be really fucking banger with their DLCs actually, with the multiplayer map packs, but also, and for me at least, zombies. Uh, with Black Ops, all the different because you get the multiplayer map cap packs, and they would always come with a zombie map. And Black Ops 1 had some fucking banger zombies maps with Moon, with
Hmm.
well, 5 wasn't even the DLC. It just you beat the campaign, you get 5.
Yeah.
Just like how when you beat the campaign of World of War, you get the first zombies map with
Or Pentagon in
Nocturne
Black
and Totten.
Ops.
No, not yeah, Nocturne and Totten.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or
the 5, the Pentagon one.
yeah.
And then you get uh fucking Moon, and you get Shangri-La, you get what was it? Der Toten, you get, all that. And like with World at War, you got one of my favorite maps of all time, uh The Rise, also
Hmm.
known as the Giant. You get Shinonuma, like amazing zombie maps, classics. And then with other Black Ops games, you got some cool stuff. But with Black Ops 3, in which we played, and that might be a game we end up streaming because it would be a little fun. But
That'd be fun. That'd be a lot of
Black
fun.
Ops 3, Black Ops 3 has you get all like the remake classic Black Ops 1 maps. You get Ascension, you get Moon, you get Shangri-La, you get the Giant, you get Nuketown zombies and everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, all the zombies and multiplayer maps that came out, really good stuff. And with all the zombies content, I've seen what zombies is now. It's basically battle royale, big map with zombies in it, and it's not scary anymore, and it's stupid. And yeah, zombies doesn't always have to be scary or anything, but
But
I've played
it's at the end of
I've
the
played some
day,
of the newer.
well, like,
I'm fine with the arcadey zany zombies map. And in fact, I want to give a shout out to Infinite Warfare zombies.
mhm.
Because it's like all 80s like arcadey game mode, neon 80s music. Like it had real music in it. You listen to Blondie while you kill zombies, which was
Nice,
fun.
nice.
Um, but and David Hasselhoff was a character. But yeah, Infinite Warfare Zombies was a lot of fun actually. Highly underrated, I would say, for as far as DLC goes. But I digress. Anyways, I'm fine with zombies going campy, going goofy. However, the maps always had an identity, always had an atmosphere to them, a
Hmm.
vibe. If it was a goofy vibe, okay, it's a goofy vibe. If it's a scary, creepy vibe, okay, you play uh Verrucht, the Asylum one, which is terrifying, and
Yeah.
you play or Shino Numa, or you play um fucking 5 actually got scary, especially in the corridors down in the Pentagon.
Yeah.
But it was also goofy because you're playing as the presidents,
Yeah,
and then
I
uh
distinctly
Castro's
remember
there.
I distinctly remember beating the
Yeah.
campaign in Black Ops and having the cutscene where it's JFK and Castro and
Yeah.
whoever else is there, um, doing the whole like
Richard
the
Nixon.
Nixon, yeah, and the Soviet, I'm forgetting, off the top of my head. But where it's the whole JFK, the wall turns around and there's a bunch of guns and he grabs a gun and it goes lock and load and cocks the gun. I
Yeah. And
distinctly
that wasn't even the
remember,
DLC.
yeah, I distinctly remember beating the campaign in Black Ops, seeing that cutscene and being like, "Oh my God, this is amazing."
Think about how far Activision has fallen where that wasn't even a DLC. Now
Yeah,
you'll get charged $20 to play as Homelander in the new Call of Duty.
yeah,
It's fucking garbage. They've tried to they're trying to do a Fortnite thing, and it sucks, man. But people buy into it. I
yeah.
remember even with Modern Warfare 3, there's people like, oh, I want to get the new Modern Warfare 3. It looks sick. Like that's why they keep making these games, because there's people that keeps buying them, and
Hmm.
they're gonna keep making shit because
Yeah.
people like
Call
shit,
of Duty has
I
really
guess.
fallen, and it's not gonna
Um,
get better until people stop buying it, which isn't going to happen anytime soon.
But the OG expansions and all the zombie maps, even going to Black Ops 4, going into I mean that was pretty much the last good zombie stuff. Um I played some of the new well, I haven't played Modern Warfare 3 zombies or whatever the fuck. I've played the last zombies experience I played was World War II. Not World War II, the other World War II one. Call of
Vanguard.
Duty Vanguard, which I'm actually going to step in and come in defense of that game. Yes, it is more arcadey. Yes, the recoil and the gunplay isn't as realistic or hardcore, but it's fun. Vanguard is fun.
Yeah.
And I think that's the main thing that matters with these games. Is it actually fun?
Yeah.
And is the
Yeah.
multiplayer balance? And yeah, was it quite that balanced? No, because a lot of the weapons were kind of bullshit and didn't have any recoil or whatever. But it was arcadey fun World War II maps, and then you had arcadey fun open world kind of zombie maps. But that's when they started going open world, and now everything is based around Warzone.
Hmm.
This is where we can discuss a bit where DLCs have fallen and where we get few and far between
Yeah.
expansion passes and standalone DLCs. And now what we have to deal with is, well, we don't have to, but people keep spending the money on it,
It's
so
just
the companies keep releasing them.
it's
But
it's just it's yeah, the
live
live
service
service thing.
games with constant add-ons and microtransactions and updates. And then, yeah, maybe after a few years, you have what would be considered a full game.
Yeah.
After spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars on microtransactions. And man, and I
No, yeah.
love, well, I don't want any game to fail. I want anything, like anything can be good. I want things to be good. But with Suicide Squad, I'm so glad it
Mm.
fucking failed. I don't know how many now, but less than 1,000 players a week after it released.
It's terrible.
That's
That's awful.
terrible. And then
Yeah.
you have a game, then you have fucking Helldivers 2, which was a double A game that the developers only expected at most, with all platforms considered, 100,000 players. And that was like a high expectation for them.
And they
And then that game
fucking
blew
killed
up.
it. Yeah.
And then they killed it, and I can't wait to play it once they get the servers worked out. But like it blew up so much where they freaked the fuck out, and we're like, oh my god, we didn't think it was gonna blow up like this. We didn't expect the servers to have this kind of capacity. We apologize for you not loading into the server. We didn't expect this game to
Yeah.
blow up.
Yeah, but
So I can't be
they're
too
like we
mad at
didn't
them.
plan for this number of players. Uh
That's actually a game I've refunded, not to the fault of the game itself, but just for the fact
yeah, like
I don't want to sit around waiting for the servers. You
I've
know,
done that before.
I
I've refunded games with the
and
intention
then you'll
of
get it later
I
once they
will
work stuff
possibly
out.
repurchase it later.
Yeah.
But
And I
it's
definitely
like
plan on buying that one again once they get the servers worked out. But I love that you have Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, which was expected to be, well, at least Warner Brothers. Well, actually, I have another game to talk about after this. But anyways, Warner Brothers is expected to be the big game. It's a big IP. It's, it's DC. Um, but and it's Rocksteady, and oh my god.
that's
And
the
I know a
biggest
lot of the
disappointment.
original team's not part of it, but like they made some of the best superhero games of all times with the Batman Arkham series.
Yeah.
Just amazing games, amazing single player experiences, and then they make Kill the Justice League, which is an online only, have you, online only live service game, but you can play it with the bot single player if you want. And
Yeah,
so,
this
which
is
implies that there's no damn reason it should be online only. And and it's fallen on its face and failed. And for multiple different reasons, yeah, because of the bad server connections and that it's online only and that's live service. And also because blatant, we could get into it, but like blatant disrespect of the IP within the story. Like, and
Hmm.
of course they're gonna come back and be like, "Ooh, actually, that was a fake out. You gotta save the you gotta save the Justice League in the DLC or whatever. Those weren't
Oh
the real
yeah.
Justice League." It's like, if you're gonna have a game where you kill Justice League, make it real. Make it, I don't know. Make it, I don't know, make it anything else. Um, Another game I'm gonna talk about a little bit. This is a bit of a tangent because it's not a DLC, but it's within it's live service. Skull and Bones, which has fallen
Hmm.
flat on its face. Uh,
Yeah,
this
I haven't even been
long-awaited game that's
paying attention to it.
been developing since Black Flag
It
for
it
a
sounds like
decade.
from what I've heard,
That's-
it sounds a lot like they had this great idea. They came out with Black Flag and said, "Hey, what if we just made this into its own thing?" And
Yeah.
they were working on it, and then at some point it got rebooted.
Yep.
And then they kept working on it, and some point that got rebooted.
And then,
And
oh,
by the
let's make it a
time
live
we got
service thing.
and then by the time we get to where we are now, EA is just like, this thing's like, there's no way they're not like this. They're just like, this thing sucks, but we've already dumped too much money into it. We just have to release it. We have to
Let's try
get
to
it out the
gouge
door.
players with a live service game.
Yeah, get it out the door. Maybe we can make up some money through some live service shit. Like,
Yeah.
just get it out the door. Wipe our
It's a
hands
tax
clean with
write-off.
it. Yeah, like Ubisoft.
Yeah.
Like, just
And
just
and basically what you essentially have is essentially just the ship combat
mhm,
of Black Flag with none of the
with nothing
exploration,
else. Yeah.
none of the cool. I mean, yeah, the ship combat is fun
Like, don't
and
get me wrong.
singing their sea shanties out on sea is
The ship
cool and
combat is
fun.
the best part of Black Flag.
But it wasn't the only part.
But it's, yeah, exactly. It's not the only part. Yeah. It's
And they decided to make it a live service, and it's boring, and it's the same thing over and over. And I love that one of Ubisoft's execs described it as not a AAA game, but a quadruple game. This game is a true example of what a quadruple A game could be described as.
what the
It's,
fuck does that mean?
ouch. It's just bullshit.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean anything.
That
What it
doesn't
really means is
No,
that
it's not
they're
a
trying to cover their ass.
quadruple A game. Those don't exist. Triple A
Well,
means
and if
it.
you're gonna invent that term, I want it to mean it, right?
Well, it's like,
But
isn't the entire point behind those terms meaning, basically meaning the type of funding that a game has?
right, yeah,
Like, triple A is the top funding. There is
yeah.
no such thing. Okay. I guess
Well, it was some
maybe,
old boomer
may,
exec that just said that because it
yeah,
sounded cool. I guess I don't know.
maybe if one of the Saudi princes decided to fund a game
Right?
with his
Uh,
billions of dollars, that could be
hey, put a
quadruple A.
billion into put a
Because,
billion in
but
the
isn't
GTA
AAA just
6 or
meaning
something.
like it's funded and developed by a major company? Is
Yeah,
that's all it means?
yeah. It doesn't
Like
indicate the quality.
like
I mean,
and double
you
A
would hope
is
that it
like
would be good quality,
and
right?
double
But
A games are games made by companies that are too big to be considered indie companies, but are not Ubisoft level funding, right? Like, right?
yeah,
It's,
like
correct me if I'm
Liza
wrong.
P, I would consider that would be
Yeah,
a double A game.
yeah. Like, it's
Uh,
above indie level, but it's not.
that-
Yeah. Anyway, I
Anyways,
we should probably end this
we are
relatively
running out of
soon,
time.
but I want to talk a little bit about something here. I thought that I came across this when I was just reading up on this topic a little bit. Um, I thought it'd be
Yeah.
interesting. games.
Are we just kind of freeballing it here?
We're just freeballing it, yeah. Just going commando. Games that
You're
started
lagging on
as
my
a
end. I don't know if
DLC
it's me.
that became full games, both in a good way and in a bad way. So there's notorious
Sorry, you
examples.
lagged on me. What were you
Oh,
saying?
games that started as a DLC and became full games were ended up getting released as a full game.
Yeah, tell me about it.
So, like, I mean, I think some of the more notorious examples, while we don't have proof of this, Modern Warfare 3 was very obviously a DLC, right? Um, but
Yeah, and then they charged it as a full price game.
yeah, Saints Row 4 was one. It was a DLC, and they just ended up deciding to turn it into a full game. Yeah. Um,
But the superpower stuff.
yeah. And I think this is just
Saints
kind
Row's
of
fallen. Talk about a series that has
mm,
fallen so hard.
but I think this is just a kind of an interesting kind of phenomenon because it happens in two different ways. Like sometimes developers get greedy and they're working on DLC and they go, you know what, we can make this a full game. We can charge full price for this. We just have to fluff it out a bit. But
Right.
sometimes it's happens because the developers are like, this can't just be a DLC. I think the biggest example of that was GTA Vice City. So Vice City
Yeah.
had a year-long development, and by some accounts from developers who worked on it, it didn't become its own game until 6 months into development,
And then now
which is
we come
insane.
back we come back around to GTA 6. It's gonna be in Vice City once again.
Yeah. What other
Um
games are like that? Shit, I had stuff to say.
Ballad of Gay Tony. Yeah,
Ballad
it's
of
just a
Gate,
DLC.
that's just a DLC.
Um
Oh,
well, I think some
apparently
of the standalone ones kind of
apparently
fall into
Tears of the
this
Kingdom
category.
was like born out of the idea they weren't planning on doing a sequel to Breath of the Wild, but they were working on DLC stuff and basically ended up going, you
Crafting and
know
like
what? Yeah,
mechanics.
they basically ended up going, you know what? This can't just be a DLC. Like we can't justify just trying to shove all this stuff into a DLC. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
I don't think the next Zelda game is gonna be a Breath of the Wild
I don't think so.
sequel or like
No. Well,
derivation. I think it's gonna
like
be something else.
like I said, it seems to be that Tears of the Kingdom exists basically just because they were thinking, they were working on DLC ideas and just came to the conclusion like we just have to do a second game.
Yeah.
Um, Another one I read up a bit on recently, the new Hollow Knight that's supposed to come out was intended to be a DLC originally. So
Makes
um
sense.
the character the
Well, you
idea
know, um, this kind of it's like where we get to standalone DLC and then where that goes to a full game.
yeah.
So standalone DLC, it's where it's substantial enough you can charge a bit of a higher price tag, but not definitely not higher than the original game. And it doesn't have to be played with the original game, but it should be.
Hmm.
Um, or at least uh, it's not quite a full game.
Yeah.
But then when they get to the point where it can work as standalone, it's enough content to validate that it's its own content, it's its own game, then that point, yeah, it wouldn't just be a DLC anymore, it'd be a sequel. And I think that's kind of a fine line sometimes, but also, and I don't know why people have got this in their heads, like going back to Spider-Man 2, where and even Tears of the Kingdom too. Both of these games have a similar criticism from some people where they're like, "Oh, it's just a glorified DLC or whatever."
No,
Um,
it's like
uh,
I don't
Sometimes the
know.
sequel is just more of the previous game that you
Well,
like, as long as
it
there's
seems like
enough
with
content and there's story and it progresses and there's new
Mhm.
stuff, new mechanics, and enough content. I think it could validate being its own game. I think if it was just a DLC, I think the content wise, it can maybe validate being its own game, but I think story mechanics wise, it would be mostly the same.
Yeah.
Or
No,
it could go the other way around, where a DLC is a little bit shorter in content and
yeah.
length,
Well,
but
it's
it
like something
introduces
like Tears of the Kingdom.
more
Like people say, like, "Oh, this
mechanics.
feels like a glorified DLC." Well, it's like, well, that's because from what we heard from developers who worked on it, it kind of originally was, and it just
Yeah.
ended up being like very early, like before they even worked on it, they when they were still doing the conceptual stuff, they came to the conclusion that like this stuff we're conceptualizing here can't like we can't justify cramming it into a DLC. We
Yeah.
needed an entire game to actually flesh it out.
And then with like Insomniac with the Spider-Man games that we've gotten, so well, Miles Morales was essentially like a standalone DLC. They didn't call it
Yeah,
that, but back in the day it would have been.
yeah.
Um,
Miles
but like
Morales. I
with
mean,
this,
it was released for what, like $40,
yeah, it was only
something
40
like
bucks.
that. Like,
I think
I
50
mean,
for the PS5 version or whatever, but
that's a little high for a DLC, but shit, The Sims for charges
well,
$40 for DLCs
Shadow of the
every
new
other
Elden
day.
Ring
So
new Elden Ring DLC is gonna be 40 bucks
yeah,
because it's not quite enough to be a sequel, but it's substantial now. It just depends. Um, but like people can stop bitching. They should stop bitching about
yeah,
like this Insomniac
Yep.
Spider-Man games
Yeah,
because let's look at something. You get all the suits for free, right? Especially if you have the remastered edition or whatever it's called, the
hmm
Game of the Year edition.
yeah.
And the DLCs give you new story content, give you at least 10 hours of gameplay or more, and new suits and
No,
some new mechanics and
the
whatever.
PlayStation 4, the original Marvel Spider-Man, the
Yeah.
DLCs were great for that.
And also, you have so much
They
content just loaded into the
yeah,
original game. And then with Spider-Man 2, you get all the suits. You get the Andrew Garfield suits, the Tobey Maguire, you get all the Tom Holland, you get the movie suits, blah, blah, blah. You get all these suits. And people are bitching that we don't have all the black suits that we want. It's like they're saving that for DLC. And now they're announcing DLC. And I think and even they're contemplating doing a standalone Venom game.
hmm.
Like it might just be a DLC, but it might just be its own thing. Um, but like
I mean, honestly,
then
like
you
what
have
they did
but
with
then on the other hand,
yeah,
you have games that gouge you. Like so like the
yeah,
Avengers game, which is dead, which is long dead, and Suicide Squad's gonna follow the same practice. Um, where so like let's say in the Spider-Man game and like Arkham Knight and the Batman games get all these suits and content that are just included. Just like
yeah.
if you level up enough, if you unlock them or do these secret little side missions, you'll get new suits and whatever. In the Avengers game, yeah, you might get some free suits, but they're just like color swaps and shitty. But if you want the Iron Man Endgame skin or like any of the movie ones or any of the cool comic book ones, you're paying $15 a skin.
Yeah.
The Spider-Man like City Never Sleeps DLC was like $20 and you get new suits, new content, new combat mechanics, new boss battles.
Yeah.
So stop bitching because you could be gouged basically the same price, nearly the same price for a DLC for
Yeah.
one
No,
cosmetic skin.
it's some people have a mentality with DLCs of if you're gonna make the DLC, it should have been in the game in the first place. And I think that can be, I mean, it's not always
That
untrue,
can be valid,
but it's not
but
it's also can be a little unfair because it's like there's plenty of DLCs where it's like again, The Witcher 3 Blood and Wine. Like that was The Witcher 3 itself without any of the DLCs was totally
like a
worth
100-hour game.
yeah, totally worth what you pay. And
Well, and
then they come
also,
out and say,
let's be
here's more. You
realistic.
have to pay a little bit more to get it, but here's some more stuff.
Be
That's
realistic. These companies, these developers, yeah, they're gonna want to make prolonged funds on these games for a certain amount of time. They want to keep making money on these things, and that's why you have live service. But live service is also
Mhm.
dying. I mean, there's only a few games where live service is
Well, I mean,
alive and well, like with Fortnite and stuff.
take a look
But
at take a look at again
uh,
the Witcher 3. They've managed to port it with free updates every once in a while, like they did the next gen update. They are apparently this year going to be adding more official mod support to it. They are, and all of this is free stuff that they updates they've been doing. They're keeping it relevant and keeping people
yeah,
buying the game.
well, like
Like they're
with
still
Suicide
making
Squad,
money off of The
just the
Witcher 3. Like,
yeah. But like with the Suicide Squad game, just based on the mechanics of it, shows how it was made to be live service because all the characters essentially are run and gun characters.
mhm, yeah,
There's not anything interesting combat wise. You're not doing Batman free flow combat or whatever because it's not built that way. Because if it was built that way, it would be a single player game. And if it was a single player game, it'd be a lot harder or if impossible to make live service.
yeah,
But if you're a guy that just runs around shooting things, oh, you can easily make that live service. Oh, because you get a skin pack. Oh, you get a new weapon pack. You know, um, and that's another thing that inherently pisses me off about that game. Just everything I've heard
yeah.
about it. Not only get like a neutered, just stupid fucking version of Suicide Squad, and I heard the story's disrespectful and everything, but you're forced and everybody just has a gun. You're playing King Shark and you just have a gun.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, so like they made Deadshot and they made that work really well, right? And then they
Mhm.
just applied that to every other character.
Yeah.
And they switch up their traversal mechanics a little bit. But
the
it's like
only
the reason we
positive
loved Batman so much is because nope. I mean, I know this has been said over and over by IGN and whatever. It makes you feel like Batman. It's a full single player experience. It's
Mhm.
it's fulfilling. It's just great.
You
You
know
have awesome,
the
unique
only
boss
and I
battles.
mean the only positive thing I've heard about the gameplay in the Suicide Squad
Traversal
is Captain. I've heard some people say that the way
on
they did
Boomerang's fun.
the boomerang where he throws the boomerang and there's
Yeah, I heard that's fun.
the
Yeah,
delayed like
there's a good game there.
teleportation. I've heard
There's a good
that's
game
kind of
there.
a cool idea. That's all I've
It's
heard. Yeah.
it, the producers, the developers that were like, "Hey, we got to make this live service. We got to make this game last years, even though it's already dead on arrival." But they didn't know that. Um, so all the cool combat mechanics you may have developed, we got to strip them down to the basics because we got to make it where it's just based on stats and stupid percentage numbers, like with the Avengers game or even Destiny, but even more egregious with the Avengers game where it's like you're Iron Man. Oh, you found a new glove that gives you 0.5% more
Hmm.
energy damage or whatever.
Yeah.
That's not fun.
Yeah.
When you're playing when you're playing a game where you're supposed to be Thor, right?
Yeah.
God of Thunder, one of the most powerful Marvel characters, etc. And then you're getting beat by Hydra agents. No,
Yeah.
that that kind of like there's certain games. Yeah, obviously there's some games where you need that challenge, where you need the grind. But when I'm playing as
Like,
Batman or when I'm
shits.
playing as Spider-Man,
Sometimes a
I want
sometimes a
difficulty there,
power
but I want to feel like that character. I want the
yes.
power fantasy.
Sometimes a power
And
fantasy
live
is what you
service
need.
doesn't allow that. It doesn't allow that.
There's a time and a
It can't
place.
allow that.
Like, yeah, some games thrive off of the challenge, but there's a time and a place for it. A Souls game, you want the challenge. That's why you're
The
that's
Souls game is
why
fair
that's
challenge. You're
why
not
you're
paying to
playing
win.
it.
You're
You
not
know?
paying for new loot
Um
boxes that give you a sword with 0.5%
yeah,
better damage.
the
You're earning it. You're
Assassin's
getting
Creed
good. You're
franchise.
getting skill.
The
Live service, you're paying for just better shit.
yeah.
You're not getting better at it. You're just
The
paying
Assassin's
more.
Creed
You're paying and
franchise
paying.
is the opposite of Souls, the Soulsborne genre, where it's the only time it's frustrating or challenging is when the game just isn't working the way you want it to work.
Yeah,
Um,
you jump on the
uh,
wrong ledge or
yeah,
whatever. Yeah.
but otherwise it's ridiculously easy, but it's still fun because it's the power fantasy. Most games are
Yeah.
somewhere in between those two extremes, but
Well,
like the
like the Batman Arkham games, they can be hard if you go on the highest difficulty and whatever, but then it gets to
yeah,
the point where it's a power fantasy once you get good at the game. You understand
yeah,
the mechanics and you
you get
understand
good at the game, you unlock
everything.
more
But live
abilities, you
service, yeah, you can get good at it mechanically, but like with some of the newer Assassin's Creed games, you can be good at it, you can understand all the mechanics, but if you go into a high level area,
yeah.
you're going to always fail.
I
Because
think that
either you need to grind for
yeah,
hundreds of hours, or hey, just pay $20 for this loot box
that
crate.
was a lot of the problems people had with the newer the RPG Assassin's Creed games. They're not all bad, um but one of the problems is that they take the approach of you have of like leveled areas,
You
leveled
either grind
enemies, and
or you pay
people
for it.
and a lot of people just took offense to that, going, listen, that's not why I play Assassin's Creed.
Oh,
I don't play like if I want a challenging experience, I'm gonna play a different game
yeah,
because Assassin's Creed is not that game. It's a
supposed to be.
100%
I mean,
power fantasy game. It's
well,
nothing
you want
else.
some challenge there,
Like
but you want it to be within reason, and
within yeah.
you don't want it to be all grindy. You know, I mean, there's always a balance there, but like when I boot into Batman Arkham Knight, I want it to be challenging, but the challenge is based not upon levels, not upon what loot box I got. It's based upon how good I am at the game. How much do I understand the mechanics, the counters, the
Yeah.
perfect combos, all that kind of the what is it? The critical strikes. How good am I at the game rather than how long do I have to grind versus how much do I pay where I can just make this easy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then, okay, then you just get to pay to win where if you want to shell out of that much cash, then it just becomes stupid easy. You get all the cool skins, you get all the cool weapons. But then it just becomes a nothing game where you pay for the good stuff, becomes stupid easy, and then okay, what have you done there? Ultimately, what you've done is spend a lot of money just to get a cutscene.
Yeah.
And ultimately, what you've done there is just shelled out a lot of cash to a company that does not care about you, doesn't care about the player, doesn't care about the gameplay experience. Only thing they care about is by making a game that forces you to either grind hundreds of hours to get something that you could spend $20 on,
Hmm.
that it's ultimately, and here's the kicker, that is ultimately nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's how
And
they get people, and that's how they
and
get you.
they're
And
like,
that's what DLC has mostly become
they're like,
now.
you can either spend money
It's
to skip the
sad.
grind, but if you don't, we're gonna make the grind so unbearable that we're gonna break you down, that you eventually will just spend the money anyway.
But that's where it's actually starting to fail.
Hmm.
Luckily, enough people are wising up, and with the economy, with inflation, all kinds of things, people are like, actually, I rather not waste all my money on this thing, and I'm not going to waste all my time grinding on this game. I'm just not going to play anymore. I'm going to play Helldivers 2
Yeah.
once the servers work.
Once
you know,
servers work.
or
Yeah.
I'm just going to go play a single player game that I can
Yeah.
get the complete experience for one price and have a fulfilling experience. And
Yeah.
yeah, and also there's another thing that people need to understand. Uh
Why would I get into a live service Assassin's Creed game when I could go play Baldur's Gate?
exactly, which is a full complete game that's
Yeah.
hundreds of hours. You don't have to pay for a fucking extra thing.
Yeah.
And uh uh and also this gets to another point. Some games are just not made to be 100 hours plus
Hmm. Yeah.
long-term games.
There's nothing
Sometimes
wrong with
it's
having a
great to
shorter
just play
game.
a 20-hour campaign that is fulfilling, has a cool system, has a good story,
There are
like
several
with Spider-Man
games that are in
games
my list of
or with the Batman games
my favorite single player games of all time that are like 20-hour campaigns.
or even less maybe,
Yeah.
depending on how good you are or
Mafia
whatever.
2 is one of my favorite single
Yeah.
player stories in a video game ever. And it's like a 20-hour game.
And then I love those
Like,
because okay, you beat
if
the 20
that,
hour game,
if even
you
20
go
hours, it might even be
right.
shorter.
But
Like,
I love those kinds of things because okay, you beat the game finally. You forget about it, and then a DLC releases, and you're like, oh my god, I get to play more of this game I like. And then, yeah, on the other hand, you can have games that could take hundreds of hours to beat the main campaign. Then you get a DLC and it adds even more to it. But with live service stuff, where it's designed to be played for hundreds and hundreds of hours of basically the same thing over and over, like with Suicide Squad, I heard you do the same like truck
Mafia 2's
escort
campaign
mission,
is 12 hours long.
12 hours. But did that disappoint? No,
No.
because
Well,
you've
12
got
hours if you rush
you
through it. You can that
right.
can be longer if you do side content, but
Yeah.
12 hours long.
Um,
But
but like I
damn,
heard with the
is
new
it not
Suicide
a
Squad
good
game,
game though? Like shit. It's a
I
great
heard with
game.
the new Suicide Squad game, you're escorting the same truck, like
Uh,
for every other mission or whatever, and it's like uh, finally we are finally come to the breaking point where gamers have had enough. Of course, you're gonna still have the people that buy into the live service stuff, um, you know, but most of those people kinds of people are on the good live service ones like
yeah.
Fortnites and whatever. So if you're gonna do a live service thing, it better be damn good for people to buy into it now.
Fortnite,
Um,
say what you will about Fortnite, they are
it's a damn
handling it.
good example of a
They're
live
handling it
service.
well. They do. They
Well,
had
because
they had
there's so many
fucking
free updates that are
Eminem.
included.
They had
Yeah.
fucking Eminem.
Well, yeah, the Fortnite Festival, they have
Yeah.
you can
They
go to a
do
concert. You can,
concerts in
yes.
Fortnite. If that's not how
A
you
virtual
handle
world
live
now.
service, I don't know how you handle live service.
Because
That's
Fortnite, yes, they've gouged people, but they've put those funds into at least giving
yeah.
us new spin-off games, content,
Yeah.
fucking virtual concerts. You can go to a Fortnite festival
Like I
and
don't
literally go to a concert in the
yeah,
game,
I don't play
you know?
Fortnite. It's not for me, but like I see news about it. I see all this stuff and I'm like they seem to know
And
what
now
they're doing
Fortnite's
though.
doing a Rhythm Guitar Hero clone,
Yeah.
and
Like
like it's a good Guitar Hero clone, and like that genre of gaming is making a comeback again.
yeah,
Uh, you know,
they know what they're doing. They're not. Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, but anyway,
But for me, getting back to DLCs and everything, getting outside of live service thing, for me, a DLC, what it really needs to be, uh, Doesn't have to be a standalone content. But for me, it has to be well integrated with the main game, or it could just be a complete spin-off where it is a standalone thing. Or it could be a little bit of both. Or if it is just no, I mean it's pretty much those for me. I mean, I feel like for me, a DLC has to either justify itself, add to the main game, or be a cool spin-off that's based off the main game, but has relatively nothing to do with the main story or with the it could be its own thing.
Yeah.
And then you have like bonus, little mini DLC packs where it's just like you get new Batman suits or whatever.
I mean, I'm
Um,
okay with little mini things like
depending
that,
on
but
the
it's like,
pricings. But then again, Rocksteady is before Suicide Squad, but they were so cool where they released new Batman suits for Arkham Knight years and years later after the
years
release of the
after it came
game
out. Yeah.
for free.
Yeah.
And like with the Batman the Robert Pattinson skin, I got a mod where you can play it on PC and it's like an upscaled version of the Switch version. Uh, um, which really works well for that game. If we could get the Batman Batmobile, because it's just like a car, that would
Yeah.
be pretty cool. But
That'd be awesome.
man, one more side note before we end this. Going back and playing Arkham Knight, it is aged so fucking well.
Arkham Knight's great.
Fidelity wise, gameplay wise, it's great game. I know it had a extremely hairy release on the PC originally, but now
Yeah,
it runs
I
like
I
butter,
never
and
experienced that
it's
original release. I played it after they fixed all that sort of stuff. So
yeah.
I've always had a good
And I can't
experience.
wait to play it on the Steam Deck. That's gonna be fucking awesome on the Steam Deck.
It's great on the Steam
You know,
Deck. It's good. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
But
yeah,
anyway,
that's pretty. We got
I
to end this here.
I
That's
think we
pretty
got
much
to
all I
end
gotta
this.
say.
Yeah, it's getting late for
It
us at
is.
least.
It is. Well, I mean, I don't have to be up at any particular time, but
I don't
it is
either.
getting late.
Yeah. But anyway, check out our Instagram. Even though we haven't been posting stuff, we're going to get more on it.
Yeah, we're gonna get back to it. We're gonna get back to the
We're gonna
flow
get
of
on
it.
it. I took a bottle. I took a picture of this bottle here.
All drunk pod.
I'm gonna send that to you, Jackson.
Cool. Send it over to me. Yeah.
Damn smooth gin out of Golden, Colorado. Pretty good stuff.
Yeah, just
For a
send
reasonable
me the picture
price.
and the name of the drink and
Yeah. Leave a review on Apple Podcasts or whatever streaming service you use. Give us a download. Share with your friends. That's the most important part. Share with your friends. We don't say that enough.
We don't.
I don't know what else to say. Like and subscribe.
Yeah, click all the buttons that
Click all the
makes us feel good. Click all the buttons. And
I think we're maybe on YouTube. I don't know. So like and subscribe,
sort of,
I
kind
guess.
We have been talking about, I know we've talked about it a lot here, doing some video stuff. I don't know if we're gonna reveal our faces or whatever, but we're gonna at least do some video
Or
stuff.
masks.
Some gaming. Yeah, we'll finally put cameras, but we're gonna wear masks.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be pretty good. But anyways, yeah, check us out. Do what Colton said, and stay swifty, but also stay safe out there, guys.
Yeah.
This is not a test. I repeat, this is not a test. The Odd Drunk Podcast recommends you follow their Instagram and join their Facebook group for more fun content. To visit all of our current streaming and social media platforms, visit the link tree in the description. If you enjoy the show, we would be appreciated it if you would leave a review on Apple Podcasts. The Odd Drunk Podcast would like to remind you to drink responsibly and not to drink and drive.